Once upon a time, in the land of competitive gaming, there was a legendary matchup between two teams, GT39 and Palo. Palo was the reigning champion, with a roster stacked with top-tier players and a coach who could turn water into Gatorade. They were so confident in their abilities that they even started practicing their victory dances before the match. On the other side of the arena was GT39, the scrappy underdog team that nobody gave a chance. They were a ragtag bunch of misfits with a coach who had never played the game before and players who could barely hold a mouse. But they had heart, and that's all that mattered. The match began, and Palo got off to a blistering start. Their players were moving so fast that their keyboards started to smoke. GT39, on the other hand, seemed to be playing with one hand tied behind their backs. It was like watching a bunch of toddlers trying to play hopscotch. But then something strange happened. GT39's coach, who had been snoozing in the corner, suddenly woke up and started shouting instructions. His players looked at him like he was speaking in tongues, but they followed his orders anyway. "Jump, shoot, hide behind that tree," he yelled. And to everyone's surprise, it worked. GT39 started to catch up, and soon they were neck and neck with Palo. The crowd couldn't believe their eyes. Was this really happening? Palo's coach, who had been sipping champagne in the VIP box, started to panic. He had never seen his team play like this before. He tried to call a timeout, but the referee was too busy laughing at GT39's antics. The final moments of the match were intense. Palo's players were sweating bullets, and GT39's players were just sweating. But in the end, GT39 emerged victorious. They had done the impossible and beaten the unbeatable. Palo's coach was beside himself. He couldn't believe that his team had lost to a bunch of amateurs. He started to cry, and his tears mixed with the champagne on his face. As for GT39, they celebrated like there was no tomorrow. They hoisted their coach on their shoulders and paraded around the arena, high-fiving everyone in sight. They had proven that anything was possible, as long as you had a little bit of heart and a lot of luck. And now version 2. Once upon a time in the land of competitive coding, there was a fierce battle between two teams, GT39 and Palo. Palo was the reigning champ, known for their lightning-fast coding skills and razor-sharp algorithms. GT39, on the other hand, were the underdogs, known for their love of pizza and their tendency to procrastinate. When the day of the match arrived, the two teams took their positions in front of their laptops. Palo looked confident, while GT39 looked like they were still half asleep. The referee shouted "begin," and the coding frenzy began. Palo started off strong, typing furiously as lines of code flew across the screen. GT39, however, seemed to be struggling, with one member staring blankly at the screen and another munching on a slice of pizza. But as the hours ticked by, something strange began to happen. Palo's code started glitching, and their once perfect algorithms began to fail. In contrast, GT39's code seemed to come alive, with each member contributing their own quirky ideas and unique perspectives. Palo's team leader started to sweat as he frantically tried to debug their code, while GT39's team leader sat back with a grin, savoring the taste of victory. And then, the moment of truth arrived. The referee announced that the time was up, and both teams submitted their code. The judges went through the submissions, carefully scrutinizing each line of code, and then the verdict was announced. GT39 had won. Palo's team leader looked like he had just eaten a sour lemon, while GT39's team leader jumped up in excitement, spilling pizza crumbs everywhere. The underdogs had triumphed over the shellers, and GT39's victory was celebrated throughout the land of competitive coding. From that day on, GT39 became known as the pizza-loving, procrastinating, but surprisingly talented coding team that had taken down the giants of the coding world. Oh, fuck. All right. That's all she wrote.